All right, I'm back here on the Nation Network YouTube with a little bit of Edmonton Oilers trade talk for you. And we've been doing kind of a hit a week here over the last couple of weeks about what Edmonton could potentially do ahead of the trade deadline. And today we are zeroing in on goaltenders. And I'm pleased to be joined by Mike McKenna, the goaltending expert and a writer over at Daily Faceoff. Mike, my shirt may say pray for playoffs, but right now Oilers fans, they're praying for a goalie because they need one pretty bad.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And, I feel bad for Mikko Koskinen, honestly. Like the moment he signed that contract from Peter Chiarelli, he was kind of a dead man walking because I didn't think he could ever quite live up to, especially that cap hit. And that's been the case. So Mike Smith's been injured an awful lot. Stuart Skinner's in COVID protocol and he's thrown flashes. But I think ultimately Ken Holland's going to be shopping around here for a goaltender. And there are definitely some names out there that are probably pretty intriguing to him.
There are, and I'm going to start. I got 5 here I'm going to throw at you, but I'm going to start with the one who's kind of been in the rumor mill all season, even though there has been some cold water thrown on the idea as of late. But that would be Marc-Andre Fleury, the future Hall of Famer, a big cap hit. He maybe isn't the most realistic target for the Oilers, but despite his age, do you think he can still be a goalie who can carry a team to a cup final?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Marc-Andre can play clear through 40 years old without any problem. He's in great shape. He's adapted his game. He's always willing to learn. I just don't see him slowing down, but I don't see him as a fit for the Oilers this year with that $7 million cap hit and really with just his willingness to move on from Chicago. I think at this stage of the game, he still believes that he might be able to lead the Blackhawks to the promised land, get him into playoffs. I mean, he's 8-2-2 since the beginning of December. He's got 3 shutouts. He's arguably been one of the best goalies in the league over that time. So I think he's fully focused on that. And if he were to agree to be moved by trade deadline, I would expect it to be to a team that's probably more of a sure bet than the Oilers are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. The $7 million cap hit. And like you said, the fact Fleury kind of controls his own destiny here in a few ways probably leads to him not being a realistic target. One guy who could also be on the move is in Columbus, in JOONAS Korpisalo. Is Korpisalo a guy who can be an answer for a team looking for a starter? Or at this point, is he just more of kind of a backup piece?
Well, I think he's a project more than anything. He needs, I think he needs a fresh look when it comes to his goaltending coaching, when he's trying to reevaluate his own game, because I see holes. And that's the reason why these past several years, he can't get above a 90 save percentage. It's not just the team in front of him. He's been outplayed greatly by Elvis Merzlikins in Columbus. And that's always a metric that I use is how you stack up against your goalie partner. Everybody remembers Korpisalo for the run that he had in the bubble with against the Tampa Bay Lightning a couple of years ago in the first round, almost single-handedly beating them, but he hasn't been able to back that up in the regular season. I'd be very wary of picking up JOONAS Korpisalo to be the starting guy. But if you're looking for a project, he does have nice raw skills, but he needs some help right now.
Yeah, the Oilers certainly not looking for a project, and that's why I would probably scratch Korpisalo off the list. The next name is one I've really gone back and forth on a little. He's had some good numbers in the past, but he's always been playing for a good defensive team in New York. But that's SEMYON Varlamov. One more year after this one at a $5 million cap hit. Is he a $5 million goalie still in your eyes?
That's tough to say, but I think if you're trying to find a goaltender that's going to change things for you as a franchise, you're going to have to pay a little bit of a premium. And $5 million is a lot better than $7 million if you're talking about Fleury in comparison. And I think Varlamov, you worry about injuries, had a history of that previously, but this year he didn't start off playing a lot. Took a little bit to get going, playing behind Ilya Sorokin with the Islanders. But I think Varlamov is as steady as you'll find. He might be the best bet for the Oilers if they can make it work money wise. I wouldn't be scared off by the extra year. Even though, you still have to look at the future with the Oilers with Skinner and Smith in the mix. I think at this stage, Ken Holland needs a goalie so bad they've got to stop the bleeding that Varlamov probably could be a good fit there if they could work out the dollars.
If they're looking for a more veteran option and someone who doesn't carry the extra year, a name we've heard thrown around over the past couple of days is BRADEN HOLTBY in Dallas. He had a really rough go in Vancouver a year ago, but he's bounced back nicely in Dallas this season. My question to you, Mike, which BRADEN HOLTBY is the real HOLTBY? Could the Oilers trust him to keep up those Dallas numbers if they brought him in?
It's hard to say because I've always thought HOLTBY was a good goaltender at the NHL level. I know he's won a Vezina that was previously playing with the Washington Capitals with Mitch Korn as his goalie coach there. But I don't see him as a truly elite netminder in the NHL, but he is somebody who brings some clout. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's been durable this season and in the past. I think that last year in Vancouver, it was a tough transition at the start. And then he started to grow into his role with that team. The second half was way better. He started to learn from Ian Clark, their goalie coach. He's kept it carried that into Dallas, working with Jeff Reese there. And I think HOLTBY would be a good pickup in that way. He could help an awful lot. I'm not sure the top end there, though. I don't think he quite has that dominating level that he once had. But if you're looking for somebody that's got some clout, that is pretty steady and has definitely resurrected his career, I do like Braden Holtby. And he's still kind of young, low 30s. There's still some runway ahead of him here. He could have some good hockey left in him.
And the last name is the one that I think might be the best fit, but he might also be the hardest to acquire. And that's in the Big Apple with Alexander Georgiev. His numbers have been inconsistent at times, but he's young. He's a pending RFA, so there would be that element of team control. Is Georgiev a guy who you think can grow into being a future number one, or is that maybe a risk you don't think Edmonton should take right now?
Well, I think Georgiev, he definitely could be a future number one. But what you're looking at here is you've got a goaltender who was already outplayed by Shesterkin in New York. And, do you want a game changer? Do you want somebody who you're hoping could get there? That's Georgiev to me. And I think it'd just be so difficult to get him out of the Rangers right now, considering that if they go into playoffs as a Stanley Cup contender, they're going to want somebody besides just Shesterkin and Keith Kincaid. Simple as that. And so I think it's a tough move to get him out. It would cost a ransom. And I don't think Georgiev is a sure bet, even though his game has been much better in the second part of the season, even though we're not even halfway through. But the last 10, 20 games when he's had the chance to play, Shesterkin gets injured and then Georgiev started to play a lot better. So I don't see how they make that work. But I would consider him a very intriguing piece if you were looking to build towards the future.
As you can tell by listening to this, there are a few options out there, but nothing's going to come easy for Oilers GM Ken Holland as he looks to fill a pretty big hole on their roster and hopefully spark his team and get them back into the playoff hunt. Mike, as always, your analysis, top notch, just like your hair and just like that beautiful setup you got there. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, you bet. High amplitude today, just bringing the energy anytime.